What's up, guys? So I wanted to make this little quick video. I touched kind of on this in my 2 deadlift cues videos, but I want to elaborate specifically on deadlifts and a quote-unquote weak lockout. So for most people who are having problems with their lockout, and I see this in powerlifting forums, groups, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. They'll say, hey, how do I fix my weak lockout? I get it to my knees, but then I struggle past there. And almost in unison, there will be a slew of comments. Rack pulls above the knee, rack pulls above the knee, block pulls, rack pulls above the knee. And this, I like block pulls, don't get me wrong. To a lesser degree, rack pulls above the knee, they're mostly useless for your deadlift. However, they still can help. But for the overwhelming majority of the people who post these and ask these questions, neither of these are the solution to their problem. The solution to their problem starts on the floor, and it starts with their setup and starting position. Most of them are either one or both, or a combination. That's what or both is. They're either in bad starting position, and it's usually they're not setting up correctly. Their lats usually aren't engaged. So when your lats aren't engaged, it can make you feel like you're getting in better position. You're probably getting down on the bar a little bit easier because your lats aren't tightened. And with very light weights, this bar will fly off the floor and you think you're doing something good and you're really not. And it tricks you. And engaging your lats is huge. That's what I mentioned. Put your lats in your pockets in my cues video. Just the setup of the deadlift is so important. And the position, and this works symbiotically with your setup. If you've got a good setup, then you're going to be in a good starting position. Typically, bar midfoot, shoulders lined up with the bar. It's again one of those things where you can get a little bit more bent over, and you sacrifice some good position for speed off the floor. And again, with really sub-maximal light weights, it feels fucking amazing, and you think, oh my god, I'm making this deadlift fly. But once it gets down to the nitty-gritty, and you get up there in percentages, it's not flying quite as well. It still feels fast off the floor, but you're running into a wall right above your knees, and you're not able to get your hips through, get your glutes tightened, and finish the lockout because you started in such an awful position. If the momentum doesn't carry you through lockout, that you're not properly engaging your lats, your glutes, you're not in position to do these things to finish the lockout, because you sacrificed that initial position. This was something I had to learn too. If you go back and look at some of my older videos, I was deadlifting, low to mid 600s, and it would absolutely fly. Like it would look super fast. Like even reps I would fail, would fly up to almost lockout, and then I would just hit that wall. It's because I wasn't in great position. Transitioning as I got a little older, and learning how to deadlift better, they don't feel as good off the floor as they did before. It doesn't have that explosive speed that I was used to. And for a while, it made it hard, calling attempts, figuring it out, because everything, felt quote unquote slow to me. I would look at it on camera and it would look fine though. And it's not that it felt like super duper heavy. I just didn't know how much more was in there. When before, I'd deadlift 585 and it would fucking fly. And I was like, fuck, I feel like I'm good for 700. And then 635, I'd barely be able to lock out. Now, it's like I'd do 585 and it's smooth. And then 635 is smooth, and 650 is smooth, and it's just smooth. And when I did 700, there wasn't this big jerk motion flying off the floor. It was just a smooth pull all the way to the top, with maybe a little bit of slow down because it was just a maximal effort, but it was relatively smooth. So if you're checking all the boxes, if you are engaging your lats, engaging your glutes, your starting position is good, you have one smooth movement through the whole lift, and your weak point happens to be when you're locking out, then you start looking at partial range of motions, pauses, things like that, and you're going to want to pause not at your sticking point, but an inch or two below your perceived sticking point. And this is something with deadlifts, especially, when you're deadlifting, there still is momentum. Even when you're in a good position, there's momentum, so you don't have to use all of your musculature power from a given position, and it's easy to kind of almost, I don't know, take it easy, for lack of better terms, through those positions as the weight is coming up. Not that you're taking it easy. I mean, it's still a maximal lift, but you're not accustomed to, you're not using those muscles from the bar starting in a still position at that that part of the movement. So, for me too, when I first started doing block pulls, I could deadlift more off the floor than I could block pull because I had never experienced the deadlift from that position. My body had never had to pull the bar at that position from a dead stop. There was always some sort of momentum that was carrying the bar through that particular range. So when I added block pulls in, my positioning after I'd fixed and sorted all that out, added block pulls in, it helped me immensely, and it'll help most people who don't train partial range of motion because, again, you're not used to having to start the bar at a dead stop from that position. So if you do a partial range of motion, say the bar's below your knees, and you've never done it before, you can deadlift more than you can off the floor than you can do from there. You can work to a point to where, it is a more advantageous position, and eventually you will surpass your deadlift. And once you get to that sort of level where, say, you deadlifted 650 and now you got your block pull to where you can do 675 for triples, from a dead stop in that position. Well, now your deadlift, when it's coming off the floor, obviously you never stopped working your deadlift off the floor or doing some other variations that assist with that. Now that your body can lock out that 675 from that position at a dead stop, now you have momentum on your side coming up there. Your lockouts are going to turn smooth as fucking can be because you already addressed your starting position before. And now when it's really necessary to work those elevated positions and partial range of motions, they're just going to, be that icing on the cake. So just to kind of wrap this up, for almost all of y'all, I'm just going to make a blanket statement here because it is what I observe almost 100% of the time when I see posts elsewhere. Your lockout is not weak because of some sort of muscle weakness or imbalance or needing to train that partial range of motion. Your lockout is weak because your setup and your starting positions are trash. I'm leaving this in. I tried to press stop and I missed. Peace!